What's up, everyone? I am Megan with Megram Softball, and today I am at Headbanger Sports, and I am with Joe Hartman, who is a sales rep for the company, and we are going to be talking about all things bats. So first, Joe, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got into selling bats.
So I'm a rep for Headbanger Sports, and I was a rep through while I was playing slow pitch softball. And when I ended up having four daughters, they all play softball now. So I had to start learning about fast pitch bats a lot more. And then being a rep with the company, I learned more about the specs of all the bats. And when I coached and when we're on the fields, I'm watching how bats are being used during games, how they perform, different for different players, different types of players. And so it just all became natural.
Okay, so let's start with just a general, how do you size your daughter for a bat?
They make charts out there that you can find online and I can share with you later, but it goes by height and weight. So you figure out on a typical chart where they fall in the height and weight, and it'll give you the general length of the bat. Mm-hmm. And once you have the length of the bat figured out, then we'll work on the drop, figuring out what size of, what weight of the bat that we want them swinging.
Okay, so weight definitely goes into consideration on the length. So like, for example, I'm 5'4", or when I play, let's say I was 5'4", 120. And then I have another teammate who's, let's say, 5'6", 180.
Okay.
We're close to the same height.
Right.
We wouldn't be swinging, or we wouldn't be having the same length. Is that
no? I would put you in a 32-inch bat is where I would put you at. And these are general. So, some players, they could say, well, I want a 33. That's fine. Or, typically you don't want to go lower, but sometimes you would put yourself a little bit higher if you want to, if you're comfortable with it. But 32 is where I would put you with what you gave me in specs wise. And then a player that's 180 pounds, a couple inches taller, even though she's generally the same height, at least a 33, possibly into a 34.
Okay. Yeah. So, because I was always taught, or just this is what I thought, was you measure your length on, like, it goes up to your hip. Mm-hmm. But that's, you don't really want to go off that.
It's kind of old school. That's the way they used to do it. There also used to be people who would measure from the tip of their fingers to the center of the chest or something along those lines. But that rule of thumb's kind of changed.
Okay. So let's talk about the weight and what drops are and what drops mean.
Okay. So bats start typically around drop 12 for a quality bat. Drop 12, drop 11, drop 10, drop 9, drop 8. So there's quite a few. In the baseball world, they have to change to a certain drop at a certain point of age and where they're playing and whatnot. In fast pitch, up until college, you can swing whatever drop you want. But a drop 12 is going to be a smaller player, 10 or younger. You want to get them away from that drop 12 as fast as possible. Drop 12 just does not perform well with the ball. The ball is typically stronger than the bat. Up till 14-ish, if they're a strong kid, they can swing drop 10 from 10 years old all the way through.
When you say drop, let's say 11, what's, for someone who has no idea what drop, what does that mean?
So if it's a 32-inch bat and you take minus 11 on the bat, so you'll actually see, like this one says drop 10 right here. Mm-hmm. So you'll actually minus that from the length. So a 32 minus 11 is 21. That's 21 ounces. Mm-hmm. So it's a ratio between length and weight of the bat. The drop is actually going to be different for every kid. Mm-hmm. So just because they're 10 years old doesn't mean they're going to swing a drop 11. Just because they're 12 years old doesn't mean they have to swing a drop 10. It's really going to be how the bat performs for that player. You do want the player to swing the heaviest bat that they can possibly swing with good mechanics and doing everything proper. You don't want to go too long or too heavy too quick because they'll drop the bat or they'll get tired swinging that bat. So you want to stay in the right weight for that player. Some people like to say they're constantly behind the ball or will switch to a drop 11 for faster pitchers. You really don't want to do that. You want to work on timing. So you want to keep them consistent.
And just for reference, and again, this is just going off my experience, playing at a Division I level with a lot of girls who are bigger, stronger than me. I did not see many girls going over a 34 drop 10 or drop 9. And what I'm seeing is a lot of younger kids, 13, 12, 13, think that they should be swinging a 34 or like keep going up every single year just because they're getting bigger and stronger.
Right. So that's a common misperception. A lot of parents think that, okay, they're getting stronger, they're hitting harder. It's time to move up. It's time to move up. Your player can actually stay in the same length through their whole career. I've known college players that because of their height and weight, they stayed at 32 inches and they just got a heavier bat, so a bigger drop.
So we're going to use your daughter, Reagan. She is a 10U player, and a lot of my audience, or a lot of younger girls, are from they have a lot of younger kids. So I want you to tell me Reagan's age, weight, height, and then what you would size her with.
All right. So Reagan is 10. She's in her second year of 10U, so she'll be moving into 12U next year. So she's hitting an 11-inch ball. She's 4'3". Yeah, 4'3", about 62 pounds, probably soaking wet. She's probably one of the hard, even though she's my own player, she's one of the hardest that I've had to size. On a chart that we discussed earlier, she should be around a 29-inch bat. I don't have her
because of her height and weight.
Because of her height and weight. But for her, she just doesn't have the arm strength to keep that bat where it needs to be. She struggles with the 29-inch bat. So I kept her in a 28-inch bat. We tried a drop 12 for a little while. The drop 12 was just not performing well for her. Basically, the ball would win every time the bat would meet it. So we did a drop 11, and that's been really good for her. We actually did the DeMarini CF. So she has a 28 drop 11, which is 17 ounces. And this is the bat that she swings.
Okay.
I went with the CF because for smaller, younger players, it's the lightest swinging bat in the market.
Mm-hmm. And I know we have talked about this, and we're going to talk about it a lot. Yes, the chart is great, but every player is different. Right. And the bat you use won't be the same as your teammate. So I want to be just very clear on that. It all depends on the actual athlete, their strength, height, weight, preference too.
Right. If you told me height, weight, what kind of hitter and all that, and I said, this is exactly the bat you need and exactly the size, I would be lying. And none of my customers would tell you that I would say something like that. I'm going to give you some recommendations, but if you can swing bats locally, that's your best option. If there's other bats on the team that they try out and they like this person's bat, then I can help make sure you have the proper sizing. So I have a lot of parents that message me and they want their kid in a much too large bat. And they're like, oh, they're just a really big hitter, very strong kid. Okay, I understand, but you're not doing them any service. Mm-hmm. They're going to, at some point, meet a faster pitcher, and they're going to really struggle against that faster pitcher with that bat. Okay, and then
another question is, how do you know the bat is too light for your girl? So, let's say someone's swinging a drop 10 and you hear a coach like, oh, I want to get him to a drop 9. Like, how do you know it's time to go up a little bit?
Well, something to consider is a lot of the bats when they go into drop 9 and drop 8, they become end loaded. So the Ghosts become end loaded, the LXT, the CFs, they become end loaded at that point. So when you do that, you're not only making it an ounce heavier, you're also pushing the load of the bat towards the end of the bat. So an end loaded bat is harder to swing. You have to have a very strong player. Doesn't mean that they can't swing it. Mm-hmm. Just some things to consider.
And something that I heard just going off that recently is if the bat breaks a lot, is it too light? Right.
So, yeah. So if the bat is breaking on you easily, cracking, things like that, it's definitely...
Like
frequently. Yeah. It's probably too light or very quickly.
Okay.
So even though every bat has a shelf life on the bat, if it's breaking real fast, then there might be a problem. It might be too small for you. Also, if the ball is not performing well off of the bat, then it might be too light. You might not have enough mass behind that ball. So that could be an indicator. Definitely don't go off of swinging ahead of the pitch or behind the pitch, things like that. Some people say that, she's behind the pitch all the time. Well, that doesn't mean it's too heavy. Mm-hmm. It just means her timing's off and you have to work on timing. So.
Okay. And you were talking about end loaded versus, what was the other one?
Balance.
Yeah. And loaded weights at the bottom. Those are for power hitters. Balanced more. And power hitters can use balance. But what's more popular? Like what? Tell me about that. Break that down.
Balance is definitely more popular.
Okay.
You're going to get a better swing from a balanced bat. But when you get into a drop 9, drop 8, you may not have a choice. Because a lot of manufacturers, like if you really want a Ghost Advanced and you need a drop 9, you're going to get an end loaded bat. So,
but if you're swinging a drop 9, you can hit it hard. Like you're a power
usually
hitter.
You can hit pretty hard, yeah. And the nice thing about an end-loaded bat is once you get to about this part of your swing, it really brings that bat around real fast. And so you get a lot of performance out of an end-loaded bat if you can handle the bat.
Yeah.
There's a gray area or I don't know what you want to call it, a balance between wanting to make sure you have a heavy enough bat, but not too light of a bat. It's, sometimes it takes a little bit of playing around with to get the
And a
perfect
slapper
bat.
Would definitely have a balance.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You don't want to end-loaded bat for a slapper.
You want barrel control.
Right. And a lot of slappers, until they hit college, are using drop 11s. Yeah, longer barrel, balanced bat.
For slappers.
Real quick hit and run.
Okay, so talk to me about the difference between a one-piece bat versus a two-piece.
This is a one-piece composite bat, and because it's one piece, there'll be a lot less flex in this area here. But it is all composite. It does have a longer barrel. This is the Ghost Unlimited. It does have the longer barrel because it's all one piece. Let's talk about a two-piece. So when we bring out the Ghost Advance, it's a two-piece. It has a connection piece right here, and so it gives us the flex. And so when this bat, when a player swings this bat, when they swing hard, if you were to take a video of it, slow-mo it down, the bat would actually be curved out a little bit because it's actually flexing when they swing. And a typical player, when they do that, when it meets the ball, that flex will then give it a little bit of a whip and give it more pop. Where a one-piece bat, you're not going to have that flex. It'll flex a little bit, but not a lot, but it won't have that flex, and so it'll stay rigid through the whole swing. And just depending on the type of player that you have, different type of hitter, may like the stiff handle over the flex handle. They do make two-piece bats, such as the Whisper. It's a two-piece bat, but it has a stiff handle. So you'll get kind of the similar performance as a one-piece from this two-piece bat.
And that's all feel because, and just kind of going off what you just said, you'd think you want more whips. You would always go with two. Like, I guess, is it just all preference on how it feels? Like it going to two-piece versus a one-piece? Like, wouldn't everyone want some whip?
Right. So like you just said, preference. Preference is huge. Every player is different. But if you are a power hitter, you swing very hard, you will typically get better performance out of a one-piece or stiff handle bat than you would out of a flex handle, because that when you swing as hard as a power hitter does, it flexes even more. And then that actually works against you. You don't get that actual whip. The ball will actually meet the barrel where it's more flexed and kind of not go as far. Where if they have a rigid bat, they can really launch the ball. So, and again, that's not across the board. Not every player's like that. There's power hitters that use the Ghost Advanced every single day. So it's really preference. Yep, absolutely. And if you have a player that doesn't swing very hard and you give them a stiff handle bat, you may see a lot of right field shots.
So let's talk about the difference between a composite bat versus an aluminum or alloy bat.
Preference is going to be the big thing with them again. I won't steer one player to one or the other. It's really going to be preference. So let's talk about composite first. Composite is a composite material, obviously, that wraps around the bat. And once you break in composite, it has a trampoline effect. So there's fibers that are built in here. And once those fibers loosen up a little bit, you get a trampoline effect when the ball meets the bat. Hence, you'll have a lot of performance from it. The problem is composite also cannot be used in cold weather. You don't want to overuse composite. So there's a shelf life with composite compared to aluminum. But you will get a little more performance typically out of a composite bat.
A little more pop.
A little more pop. Yep. And the sound's a lot different. You're going to get a nice crisp crack sound from a composite bat. And then, your alloy bat or aluminum is going to give you more of a tingy sound. There's nothing wrong with using an aluminum bat, especially if it's a younger player. Aluminum's going to be less expensive. You're going to get more lower end bats that aren't that are easier to find at a box store or whatnot. That's aluminum. And at that point, at that age, when you're talking about younger players, mechanics are going to be a lot more important than the performance of the bat. So start with a aluminum bat. If you like aluminum, you can stick with it forever. If you like it, it is more durable. A lot less breaking is going to occur with an aluminum bat. And then some people, if they decide they want to get a composite, they'll keep the aluminum bat for using it in the cage. batting practice, things like that, so they don't break their composite bats.
Okay, and let's kind of go into that, how to take care of a bat, and like you were just talking about how to break it in. So let's start with first how to proper way to break in a bat.
So most bats, let's use a DeMarini. So with a DeMarini, I'm going to tell a player, go out there and just swing the bat. Swing the bat, rotate the barrel in between swings, get it nice and broken in, get that trampoline effect going with the composite. Once you get it broken in, put it in your bat bag and only use it for games. I think that all bats that are higher end bats should only be used for games. That's my preference.
So no tee work, no.
Not unless it's a softball. So like a softy softball or those indoor balls, any of that stuff you can, but definitely not off a machine. But anytime you take hits or the bat takes hits with a game ball or off a machine, you're lowering the life of that bat. It's only going to last so long. So I want the performance for games when the performance of the bat matters rather than in the cage when it doesn't matter at all. And then a ghost is going to be completely different. So the way they constructed a ghost is a lot different. It's hot right now. So I could take this out of the wrapper. We can go hit and you're going to hit bombs with this bat right now. But the problem is if you're taking hard hits with this bat right out of the wrapper, you're going to break it. And when I say break, you might get small cracks and whatnot, and that's not really broken. But the life of that bat's going to be a lot less. So what we do with ghosts in my house is we do tee work, about 50% strength, about 100 hits, and then we move up to about 75%, and then we'll do about 100%, rotating the barrel. And what we're doing is we're loosening the fibers of the composite so that initial shock of when you're actually hitting hard or you're actually facing a fast pitcher doesn't break the bat. And we have yet to have a ghost that doesn't go all the way through the warranty period.
Mm-hmm.
So
and that's what, about a year?
A year. Yep. And my daughter's last double barrel, I stopped counting at over 3,000 swings. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we put a lot of swings on that bat, and we got to 12, 13, 1,400 around there swings. And I just said, okay, you can use it for games, practices, whatever you want. And it still had pop, even though we did get to a point where it had some cracks in it. The composite was peeling a little bit, and we took it to ASA Nationals, and it still passed compression testing and all that stuff. So.
Okay. And then, so with just like any other piece of equipment, bats, batting gloves, you have to take care of it.
Right.
Is there anything else you would recommend to do or not to do with, let's say, a composite bat, whether, anything?
Right. Well, composite and aluminum, I would store them in warm weather because you can dent an aluminum bat. You can break it. So all bats store inside in the warmth. So if you live in Ohio like I do, you're not going to leave it in the garage. You're not going to leave it in the trunk of the car and then go to practice. You're not going to put it in the trunk and then drive an hour to your practice if the trunk's not heated, things like that. And then the other thing is you want to take care of the softballs you're using. So if you're leaving the bucket of balls in the garage and they're cold, they're going to be rock hard and it's going to have the same effect as having a cold bat.
Okay. So like when you're at a cold tournament, you're sleeping in a hotel, bringing it into the hotel.
Oh, yeah, bringing in the hotel.
Okay.
You also don't want them stolen out of your car.
Right, so. That too. All right, guys, so that concludes our video. And with that first, Joe, do you mind telling the audience where they can find you or how they can reach out to you if they have any questions at all, since you're the pro?
Sure. You can email me at joe@headbangersports.com. I'm also on Facebook under Joe Hartman. I run Great Lakes HB Sports softball and baseball. And
with that, Headbangers is giving me a promo code, MEGREM, and they are going to allow 10 to 15% off on select bats. So go ahead, use that promo code, and you can comment below any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to answer those.